I was listening to my good friend, the Minister for Agriculture, or the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture, and he was telling Kenyans that we import, is it 5 billion eggs or thereabouts? I may be wrong about the numbers, but we import eggs. Can you believe it? Did the chicken in Nyeri forget how to lay eggs? That we should import eggs? As young people, are you involved in agriculture? I'm a king. Every time that I have the opportunity to share my thoughts with young people, I remind them that throughout the ages, it is young people who have changed their societies. If you look at any society, whether it is in the continent of Africa or outside of the continent of Africa, it was young people. Today, we do not give much meaning to history, but if you look at individuals who contributed to the struggle for independence in this country, and think of individuals such as Dedan Kimathi Waciuri, ask yourself how old he was. Today, when you read about history, you think he was born old. But I go further and invite you, go and read about Dedan Kimathi Waciuri. Read about individuals who participated in the struggle for independence in the continent of Africa, outside of this country. If you don't mention the ones that you know, they were young. Whether it was in Tanzania, it was a young Nyerere who came up with ideas. A young Obote, a young Kaunda, a young Nkrumah, a young Sankara, and today, without much information, I see even in Matatus, a young Traore from Burkina Faso. And we must ask ourselves as young people who are gathered here, why are we here? The other day, I listened to the minister for the time being in charge of the treasury in Kenya, talking about our GDP being 136 billion or thereabouts. That is what we produce, the 50 million of us in Kenya, 136 billion United States dollars. I do not know whether you've heard of a supermarket called Walmart. Walmart's earnings last year is 564 billion. It means that a supermarket in the United States of America generates more money than 50 million of us. And we are the 6th largest economy in the continent of Africa. Are we doing well? No, we are not. On the first day of July, I was in Lodwar at a hotel called The Cradle. On a table next to me, there were 5 Chinese. I took time to talk to them. They were between ages 20 and 35. They were in Lodwar. How many of you here have been in Lodwar? How many of you young Kenyans have been in Lodwar? Yet young Chinese traveled over 11,000 kilometers to come to Lodwar. Then when they succeed, we wonder why. But remember, being youth and being young is not a permanent stage. In the next 10 years, you will not be young anymore. You will be old or older. And the world will ask of you, what contribution did you make? I was listening to my good friend, the Minister for Agriculture, or the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture. And he was telling Kenyans that we import, is it 5 billion eggs or thereabouts? I may be wrong about the numbers, but we import eggs. Can you believe it? Did the chicken in Nyeri forget how to lay eggs? That we should import eggs? As young people, are you involved in agriculture? Next year, Africa is going to import food. We are going to import maize. We are going to import wheat. We are going to import rice. We are going to import sugar. We are going to import many things, which means we cannot feed ourselves. The question that I'm asking you after this conference, how many of you here will be engaged in agriculture? Because he or she who cannot feed himself is a slave. I'm asking you young Africans, what will you do during this week of invention and innovation to create things that will benefit this country? When we were at the university in the 1980s, that is almost 40 years ago. Many of you are younger than that. We thought we could change the world. We shouted student power. We thought we were God's gift to the world. We now know better. He or she who wants to change the world must first change himself or herself. In Africa, we think politics is a bad thing. Politics is the organization of human affairs for the benefit of those humans. That is what politics is. Do we organize our affairs in a manner that benefits this generation and generations yet to be born? You know, many times I marvel at what is now happening in a country called China. And many of you who are older will remember, in the 1960s, there is still a country called Korea. And there are textile industries where they made cheap material. We laughed at them. Today, the South Korean economy is bigger than the economy of the entire sub-Saharan countries combined. You go to the supermarket, even Magunas, you find Samsung from South Korea. You find LG from South Korea. What did they do that we are not doing? What did they do that we are not doing? You young people, what did they do? What did their young people do that we are not doing? And what must we therefore do? In the last 30 years, during my own lifetime, The Chinese have pulled 842 million people out of poverty. There was a time, not so long ago, a group of Kenyans went to Israel for a benchmarking on dairy farming. Because Africans are fond of going to places where they want to benchmark, even when there are no benches to mark. When they were in Israel, they were told that we also came to Kenya to benchmark at a farm of a man called Christopher Murungaru. What is my message? My message is that there are good things happening here, but we don't see them. There are now over 68 universities in Kenya. When we were at the university, there was only one university. When we left the university, you are guaranteed employment. In a manner of speaking, you had a buffet of opportunities. You only had to pick and choose. Today, you graduate from the many universities. You graduate from the many national polytechnics. You graduate from the many village polytechnics. And there are no opportunities. What must you do beyond lamenting, beyond complaining? The median age in Kenya is between 19 and 25. We are one of the youngest countries in the world. Yet, the opportunities are dwindling because of artificial intelligence. Those of you who went or used to go to banks where there were 20 tellers, you now find one teller. There are now restaurants in Nairobi where there are no waiters. There is a robot. You press, you want eggs and coffee, and the robot says, yes sir, yes madam, and brings it. Which means in a hotel where there were 200 people employed, in the next 5 years, there'll only be 2 people employed. I remember many years ago, one of my teachers told me, we had just graduated with our undergraduate degrees, and he was persuading me to pursue my master's degree. He told me, young man, there is no competition at the top. Remove yourself from the pack. At the top, there is no competition. You must go out there. We are now talking about Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which means that the boundaries of the 55 African countries will be open. If you have a product here, that product will be sold in Dakar in Senegal. So if you have your macadamia here, you are not just targeting the taste of the people from Nyeri, you are targeting the taste of people in Porto Novo in Benin. Are you ready? This is the question. And these are not idle questions. I remember my decision to be a lawyer was made when I was in Form 1 in 1975. That is when I made the decision. In that year, I also made the decision to be a martial artist. And I was told some martial artists would perform. And I continued to practice martial art 50 years down the line. Discipline is critical in anyone's life. The question is, are you prepared? Most of you here may be Christians. Some of you may be Muslims. There is a story in the Christian Bible that I love. Perhaps more than one story. There is something in the Bible where God says, go and subdue the world. How do you subdue the world? Through innovation. Artificial intelligence comes from man's mind. We are subduing the world. We have shortened distances through air travel. It is man that made that. I remember many years ago when the phone you had was something that you did like this. And you say phone number 001 Nyeri. And half of your village would wait for a phone call. Then there came a phone which you would do this. Then there came the call box. So that if you had a date with your boyfriend or girlfriend, you'd sit next to the red thing waiting. And if the phone call did not come, then it was destroyed that day. Then there came a phone that you just pressed. It went. Then there came the fax machine. It went. Today the world is at your fingertips. With a smartphone you can access anywhere in the world. Are we taking advantage of it? When there were riots in Tanzania on the 29th day of October and internet was shut, the following day they reported that the Tanzanian economy had lost 238 million United States dollars. In a single day. The figures may vary. That is how important mobile telephony has become. Are you participating in that arena? I know young people who now sit in their rooms and make millions because they are interacting with the world. Are you one of them? There is a basketballer in the Democratic Republic of Congo called Dikembe Mutombo. How many of you have heard about Dikembe Mutombo? I want you to go and Google him. He was one of the biggest stars in the NBA in the United States of America. If you go to Kinshasa in the Democratic Republic of Congo, he has built one of the biggest hospitals in DRC. And this is what he said: when the lift or the elevator takes you up, bring it down for others to enjoy it. That is what we must do. In order to change the world, you must be mad. But you must be methodically mad. Today, I'm inviting you to the land of the mad. But be mad in a methodical way, in a manner that can be monitored and evaluated. This is what we are asking. But the story I wanted to tell you in the Bible, I have not said it, is found in the book of Daniel. It's the story of three young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now those young men were in exile. And the story is told that King Nebuchadnezzar ordered that his image be worshipped. And if you did not worship his image, you would be sentenced to death. And these young men refused to do so. And this is what they told King Nebuchadnezzar: that we will not worship your image, because the God that we worship will save us. And even if he does not, we will not worship you. What am I suggesting for young people? You must believe in something for which you are prepared to die. Because as Malcolm X once said, if you don't stand for anything, you will fall. If you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. And I'm urging you to be warriors for truth. But how do you speak the truth? You must be sensible when you speak the truth. I remember myself, before I continue with the story, many years ago, in 1985, I went to see then a government minister, Simeon Nyachai. He asked me to be in his office at 7 a.m. in the morning. I was in the office at 6:30 in the morning. He saw me at 8 p.m. in the evening. And when I entered, he told me, you have passed the test of patience. As young people, we must learn to be patient. The things you want, you may not get because you don't need them sometimes. You want many things which you do not need. But I wanted to tell you a story. When you are approaching a king, you must be careful. John the Baptist was approaching a king and he was shouting, oh, you Herodias, you are having an affair with the wife of your brother. He was arrested, Salome danced, and he was cut. But then there was Nathan. Nathan wanted to tell David that he was an adulterer. And this is what he did. He went to David and said, oh king, in your kingdom, in a kingdom there was a rich man. And there was another poor man who had only 1 ewe of a lamb. And one day a visitor visited that 1 ewe, that rich man. And instead of taking from his flock, he took the ewe of a lamb of this poor man. And David said, if there is such a one in my kingdom, he shall be killed. Then he said, oh king, it is you. It is you who has taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite and caused him to be killed by the sword of the Ammonite. The sword shall never leave your house. Wisdom. So when you go to the governor and you want sponsorship for something, know how to tell the governor. Because sometimes we lose the things that we deserve because of the manner in which we ask for them. Be wise. Be wise. Be humble. Be persistent. Be curious. And it will be well with you. I tell people that when you tell me you are successful, you take me to your village first. I want to know whether in your village, both your enemies and friends can say, we don't like him or her, but this is what he contributed. Then you move to your ward, and I want to see what you have done in your ward. Then you move to Nyeri, then you move to Kenya, then you move to Africa, then you move to the world. That young girl who is hugging a tree, you'll be reading about her in the Guinness Book of Records. You think she's just hugging a tree? She's a philosopher. She's a warrior in the class of Wangare Mutamadai. Are you? Are you? I'm now concluding by saying that if you want to succeed, you must sacrifice. Sacrifice. Asanteni sana.
I'm a king, yes, I'm a king. I'm a king.